Hey everyone, what is up, y'all? It's your girl Tia Joy. I am so glad that you are here for today's video. Thank you so much for joining. It seems like to me you are really eager to know more about the roles of males and females and what we were designed and how were we designed and how were we created and our whole intention of what we should be doing, so that way we can move forward into living our best life to the fullest without any lack. Now, last week I talked about knowing your role. So I talked about the male role and the female role and how the creator who created all things, including us, in his image and likeness, he had a specific reason of why he designed the male and the female. And so last week I talked about that, and I'm actually going to continue in this video of the roles of females. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, last week I left off of something that's very important. I'm going to actually begin it with this video. Males, definitely take notes, because as much as you may think of, oh, it's not important, I'm telling you, this is important. Okay, last thing I said in the last video is women, we should not provoke our men, and that is completely 100% true. We have to keep our hands to ourselves. I understand we want to show how big and buff we are and we want to hit, or sometimes they get on your last nerve that you want to grab the new growth, you know, the new growth at the back of your neck, right back there, because they get on your nerves. But this is the thing, I don't care how mad you get, I don't care how upset you get, we should not slap our men on the face, we should not hit them, we shouldn't even play fight. I know when I was younger, like, something that my mom made sure that happened in our home is we never played fight, never did. Like, we didn't hit each other. Me and my brother, I have an older brother, we didn't hit each other, nothing. My mom made sure that did not happen, because my mother knows that things that you play with, eventually, that we may think is cute and oh, it's not a big deal, or they're just a kid, eventually it can become a problem later on. And she didn't want to, number one, open up the door, or number two, feed into thinking that it is okay. Because once you do something and you qualify and think it's okay and you allow it and you accept it, now it ends up eventually becomes a norm. And then next thing you know, you're going to be doing it all the time, to the point that you're not even going to see the wrong until it's too late. So it's very important that I've learned that. So now, like, I remember there was a time me and my bro, we did a video and we had to do some type of ninja type thing, and it was really awkward for us because we never really got to a place of raising our hands against each other. But even at that, we just now saw that, yo, like, this is crazy. Like, but we did it, and I pretty much did all the, like, but we did a lot of air things, but even then it was super awkward because we just never did that ever. And so it just showed that I know myself, males are stronger. That's who they are. They're built, their chest, everything is much stronger. So it's a little bit more, it's important that we understand it as females, but it's also important that we don't test, okay? So we have to learn to, number one, if we learn to keep our hands to ourselves, and don't worry, females, I know some men put their hands on you too. It's wrong. Both is wrong. And they shouldn't put their hands on you either, because they're not built for that strength to do so. Because remember, males, and this is just a little side thing, males, when you are beating up a woman, you are beating up the creator's idea. We are not just females living. We are the creator's idea. There was a purpose of why he created us. There's a reason why he designed us a specific way, and it wasn't for your benefit to hit us. So keep in mind that you are not strong and built to hit and abuse women. You are strong to protect. That's your job. And protecting and hitting any females is not it. So hopefully that as we understand it in our minds and not provoke men, we will also start to show our males and our men who they are, so they can start walking in the design that they were destined and created to be from our creator, okay? Second thing that us females, just a female talk, is another thing we need to do is we have to speak up. I know sometimes when we come around these males and we just want to play the silent game, or we get a sharp tone, or we get sarcastic, or we start hitting things and knocking things over. Keep in mind, in a male's point of view, they're thinking we crazy. They're like, why are you hitting stuff? That doesn't make any sense. Why are you making all this noise? What is your problem? That's what they see. So us, we have to speak up. I know we want the males to be emotionally aware, but guess what? They are not. I'm not saying all men are like this, but some men, most men, are not emotionally aware. The first instinct to them when something goes down is not their feelings. It's logic, it's facts, it's information. That's how they see things. So to see things on the emotional side, they're not going to see it all the time. They're not going to see or feel when you're hurt. They're not going to pick up on that. That's why sometimes we get frustrated. I get frustrated. There's two men in my life, my brother and my dad. So when I'm telling them something like, yo, you hurt me by XYZ, they can instantly go into all these facts of, well, you do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But it's like, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you did and how that affected me, with the way you said it, the way you came about it. Like, they're not going to pick up on that. They're not going to pick up on or the famous thing of, as being said, we think they can read our brain and know what's going on. They're not going to know. So we have to say something. We have to let them know. They're not going to pick up on it, y'all. And I know it's frustrating, but their design and the way they're created is not to do so. But the reason why our design is created to be emotionally aware, so we can help them to see it. And it's not like they don't have it there. It's there. It's just not the first thing on their mind. It's not the first instinct they go to. Our first instinct is emotions, and sad and upset and angry and frustrated, and not only that, we don't just understand it, but we feel it, the atmosphere of it, everything around it. Men don't see it that way. So if we understand that, now hopefully we can get a better walk in a better way of speaking up and saying something. Another thing about us females is, and men take notes, we are excellent at holding in information. We are excellent at being file cabinets. We can have something go on with us, and then we can remember that, store that away, and go to something else, store that away, go to something else, store that away. And then when it's time, we will go right back to the receipts and say, this week you did this, because we know the day, the time, the color, what you was wearing, where you was standing at, where we was at in that moment, what kind of car you was driving that day, what your face was looking like when you said it. Like, we are so detailed about everything. But the thing about us is, when we store things away, which we are really excellent at, is storing when things happen in past things, such as a problem or a situation. We're not really meant to only use it for the negative. We're actually also meant for the positive. Us females, we are really great. We plan things, we think ahead, we write things down. That's why a lot of things that planners that you see are done by is women. Why? Because we have excellent memory. We have amazing memory, but we use our memory for the bad more than we use for the good. And sometimes when our memory things happens, and when we have to remind our males, for instance, that's why I said speak up when something goes wrong, is so that way they can be reminded again, because sometimes they forget. And so the purpose of us to be in there is to help them remember things, which is a great thing. That's why there's women, there's associates, there's assistants, and a lot of them are females, because we are excellent at remembering things and writing things down and keeping track of things. And so if we learn how to do it more for good than for bad, I believe we'll be okay when, as far as moving on. And men, when we're reminding you of something, that's not a way of thinking, oh, we're nagging or we just trying to complain all the time. Sometimes there are things that you do say that we remember. And so you have to be careful, or just be more aware of what you say, because we have excellent memory. You can tell us one thing, 2 days later or a week later, we can come back, we can remind you what that is. Sometimes, men, you need that reminder because you can forget. That is the reason why our Creator designed us that way, for a reason. Because males, He knows that, men and males and man, He knows that you're going to need us females for that, because there's going to be moments. But I'm just saying is, after all in all, ladies, we have to speak up. Another great benefit that comes out of us females speaking up and saying something, or taking the time and cool off and collect ourselves and then having a conversation. Another thing that helps is once we actually talk about it and put it out, then we're going to come to realize that there are some things that do affect us. And it may seem like it's huge, but really it is kind of something small. Even with me, there are times, and I remember there was a time I was at work and I was working, and I was so frustrated because something went down. I couldn't understand. I don't know why. So one thing that happens is, of course, when you don't speak or say anything, all these assumptions come up, all these conclusions that you're trying to get, or create a story in your line, or try to figure out like why and all this other stuff. And the best thing to do is just have a conversation. So when I took the time to have a conversation, number one, the questions that I had ended up being answered, and number two, now I realized, okay, I was just tripping, because once again, once things happen and things bother you and you get another perspective, now you're starting to see another side of it, and now you can know how to better handle that and move forward with that. And all that comes by conversation. So let's just make sure we do that. Another thing, ladies, that we do have to do is, that is very important, is submission. Okay, we do have to submit. Our Creator told us, didn't give us instructions specifically to love. He gave us specific instructions, which is to submit, because He knows that submission is way more important for our role, because we know love comes easy from us. Another thing as far as submission that we have to do is we also have to show respect. I know sometimes the males get on our nerves and we're like, heck no, but it's our nature to respect. We need to show respect, and not only that, uplift and to encourage our men and to remind them who they are and let them know that we appreciate. And that's another thing, appreciation on both sides. You know, males, I understand you see as female, you call super women, and we literally are, because we do so many things. We do many things at once, and it's crazy. That's why our emotions is all over the place, and that's why we need you in your role to get us to focus sometimes, because we can multitask in so many things. And with males, for you guys can do things, but things hurt you and hit you that you may not speak about, and that's when you need us to get that out of you, so that way once you're out of that, now you can move on with the vision as well. So it's as much as we are living, growing individually, our unique design and creative being is super important, because our Creator designed us this way for a reason, and we have to keep tabs and take notes on these things and not use it against each other, before each other. Because notice, as you're hearing, we have some differences, but similarities. We still deal with the same thing. There's still something that we have to deal with to get to the core of something. So men, they have to get to the core of understanding and tap into their feelings, and as females, we have to get out of our feelings and tap into the core. So we're designed for a reason, because we need each other more than we know. And so once we stop, pause, and understand our roles and who we are as humankind, who we are designed from as male and female, now we can better know how to treat each other and hopefully how to handle. But this is the thing, it's going to, of course, take time, because every person is different. And that's why it's so important we be really careful who we allow in our atmosphere. Like, you have no idea how important it is. Everyone cannot be in your space, okay? So females, that's why it's so important that you be careful of who you date. You be careful of who you get a relationship with, because whatever you adapt yourself into, you bring that to the next one. And so when the male that you come across, you're dealing with them, you're not just dealing with that male, you're also dealing with the other atmosphere or fears you came out of into this new one. So that's why it's important. So males, when you're dealing with this woman, you have to ask yourself, am I dealing with you? Are you dealing with me and you want to know me? Or are you dealing with me and the other people that you've been with as well? Because we are atmosphere adapters. That's why sometimes you get into a male's face, and he could do one thing, and what he could do, remind you of another male you were with, and there's all these emotions that pop up. Like, dang, where did all this come from? And it all came because of the last relationship. And now your reaction is based off of a reminder what happened over there, that the atmosphere you're in, and now you start to react in this new atmosphere the same way that you was in the other one. And it's crazy. That's why you got to be careful of the atmospheres you're in. Because females, we are very adaptable. We know how to adapt. We know how to also settle as well. That's why we can tolerate some certain things at a certain amount of time. That's why we'll be like, oh, it's okay, no worries. I just love him. He's just awesome. Like, I still love him. But even though it's like, woo, but there's moments where we want to snap, but it's like, nope, because I love that person so much. We can tolerate a lot. But eventually we're going to have enough. Eventually we're going to have enough. Just like when, when a mother, has a child, right? When she's pregnant, she goes through a certain terms, and it goes through certain months of carrying something, right? And eventually that baby got to get out, right? So eventually we do that. We can tolerate so many things. We can carry it on for so many things. But eventually it's going to come out, and we're going to be like, okay, enough is enough. I cannot tolerate this. Like, it's done. Like, you got to figure something out, honey. It's either this or that. What it's going to be. Like, eventually. So, females, we have to be careful of the atmosphere we put ourselves in. We really do, because we're really great at adapting. I know for me, something feels pretty good and pretty comfortable, I'm like, okay, I may be a little bit like hesitant, but if something feels right, if I love the energy, if I love the way things are going, then I'm okay, And that's why they say be careful who you let in your circle, because you end up becoming those people, because it's them in those atmospheres. It's so powerful and so important. So we got to be careful. And if you're not careful, and if you're not okay, then you may have to disband yourself a little bit. You may have to separate yourself a little bit to know who you are, so that way when you go in atmospheres, it won't affect you. That's why I love Wonderful. Wonderful was he knew who he was so much. No matter what atmosphere he went into, it did not affect him, because he knew who he was. And that's what our Creator is getting us to be in. Once we know who we are, when we're sent into other atmospheres, it will not harm us or hurt us, because we know how to handle those things. And us females, we gotta learn that. We gotta stay strong. We gotta, walk in who we are. We gotta remind ourselves who we are every single day. Another thing that's very important about us females is that we are influencers. We are really excellent at influencing people. For instance, the first one pretty much had to learn, just like all of us was, and that was Eve. As you saw that in the garden, Eve was taught to from the serpent. So notice that the serpent didn't go to Adam. He went straight to Eve, because he knew that if he can catch Eve in her emotions and get her persuaded and influence her to let her realize that, if you eat this fruit, if you do this, then you will be more like your Creator, even though she already was. And so she was pretty much influenced. She was pretty much motivated to eat something, and that caused her to give to her husband, who was clearly, obviously, he wasn't that far. He was right there. And if Adam would have stopped and say,
hold on, boo, why are you giving me this? That's not the goal. Remember, our Creator said that we were made like him. It doesn't make any sense. We are already like him. Like, I had a conversation with them.
Like, it's important why the males need to speak up. It's important why the males need to lead, because we can easily be distracted and not focus. We allow our emotions to take the best of us. Instead of us being in control, we let it control us. And that's why we need the balance of the males. But once again, we are influencers. We are great at it. Sarah, same thing. When Abraham was told by the Creator, like, you're going to have a son, she's like,
me at my age, old, having a son? Yeah, right. Are you kidding me? Like, what? Hey, just sleep with my servant. You can have the chosen one and our special child through her.
And what did Abraham do?
Okay.
And so clearly the Creator was like,
I said your wife, Sarah, is going to have a baby, not through somebody else, your wife.
once again, another person influence, and I'm just naming women of just understanding how big of an influence we are. Delilah, she ended up influencing Samson and figuring out his strength. And next thing you know, she took away his strength, got his eyes poked out. Next thing you know, he's blind, hit the temples, tore it all down, killed more men than he ever did in his entire life in the whole temple. Once again, it was all persuaded by a what? A female. So it's just important to understand that that's why we need the balance of the men, because they are logical. They can think information, facts, and that can help us get back on track and not be persuaded by our emotions to stay off task. And y'all know how us females do. Like, our influence is so cray cray. Like, when you see a man and they say, or a male, and he be like, okay, sit down, right? So what did the child do? If they say to a child to sit down, what does the child do? The child sit down because they're like, oh snap, the father's here. Like, it's a totally different atmosphere. But when it comes from the mama, honey, all she had to do was do this. And you already know, raise your hand if you got that mama who will just, she don't even gotta say anything. All she had to do is give you that look, and that is the conversation. That is everything you need to know. She ain't gotta open up her mouth and say a word. You already know the dealio. It's either the two things: get your act together or wait till we get home. Like, that is so, like, that's how influential us women are, like how powerful we are, that it don't even take much, honey. We can just get the look, the hip side, the face, like that's all it takes, and we already know, honey. And so, as we saw later on with the story of Eve, that's why our Creator had to kick him out of the garden, because as much as she persuaded of the power of how strong she is with influence, she could have strongly influenced eat the tree of life. And next thing you know, if we would have done that, there would have been no redemption. So it's just important that about us females, that we're influencers and we're excellent at it. Once we figure out who we are, notice that as soon as we figure out who we are so powerful beyond anything. And I feel like that's why the enemy wants us to keep us bound and keep us in our emotions, our feelings, because he knows once we get out of it and start walking in who we are, he knows that we're going to be so powerful and we're going to impact a lot of people. But ladies, as you can see, in men, hopefully as you're hearing about females, these are some great qualities of a female. There's a lot of things we bring to the table. We're excellent at what we do. We are a great help. We were built for the males and to grow, and we're also built to grow ourselves. And if we have problem with our males, we need to go to his head male and his head, and who is that? Our Creator. So it's just very, very important, ladies, that we understand these qualities about ourselves and the beauty of ourselves. And we're more beautiful than we think, but it all starts with the inside. It all starts within us. And so females, it's so important that we be careful of our atmosphere. We be careful of what we allow in our space to influence us, because we are incubators. That's another thing. We're incubators. That's part of our nature too. Another thing is we have to speak up. It's very important we speak up. Keep our hands to ourselves. Now, I get it. There's a lot of fighting movies and stuff like that. I mean, you know, I can't pretty much have a say on the whole acting, because I want to be in action movies too, but it ain't just to beat up guys or anything like that. It's because, it seems like something fun to do. And so, but as far as, the other side of it, where it's like in life, where we use our emotions and we use our problems as bait and as excuses to attack one another, we can't be doing that. Okay, so females, hopefully you learned something about all of us today, so that way we can walk fully in who are designed to be. I'm going to do a video about the males, so make sure you look at that video. I decided to separate both male and female because there's so much, and this could be literally a long video if I talk about both. So I decided last minute, I believe the Holy Spirit gave me last minute, just do separate, which makes a lot of sense. So separated the both, so that way you can go ahead and check out the females and check out the males, and we can get a better understanding of each other. So thank you, ladies, so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and look out for this next video, because I'm about to get on the males, and y'all, it's about to get juicy. Bye, you guys. Make wise choices. Bye.